Every morning at exactly 6:10 a.m., Maya's alarm rang with the same soft chime. She never hit snooze. Not because she was disciplined or ambitious, but because she was afraid. Afraid that if she lay still too long, the weight of the day would settle on her chest and make it impossible to move. She slipped out of bed quietly, careful not to wake the apartment itself. The walls were thin, the floors old, and the silence felt fragile. In the kitchen, she poured water into a chipped blue mug and stood by the window while the kettle warmed. Outside, the city stretched and yawned. A bus hissed to a stop. A street vendor arranged oranges into small pyramids. Somewhere, someone laughed too loudly for the hour. Maya liked this moment best, before expectations, before comparisons, before the quiet voice in her head began its daily inventory of failures. At 7:30, she left for work with her bag slung over one shoulder and her hair still damp. The walk to the bus stop took 8 minutes if she didn't rush. She had learned not to rush. Rushing made her anxious, and anxiety made the day feel like a hill too steep to climb. She worked at a printing shop wedged between a pharmacy and a tailor. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and required just enough focus to keep her thoughts from spiraling. She printed flyers, business cards, wedding invitations. She liked watching blank paper slowly become something meaningful. Names, dates, promises. "You're early again," her coworker Sam said one morning, glancing at the clock. "Every day a little," Maya replied automatically. Sam laughed. "You always say that. What does it even mean?" Maya shrugged. "I don't know. I guess it means I'm trying." The truth was, every day a little was something her mother used to say, not as advice, but as comfort. When Maya failed a test, when she didn't make the team, when she cried because the world felt too loud and she felt too small. "You don't have to fix everything today," her mother would say, smoothing Maya's hair. "Just do a little, every day." After her mother died, the phrase became an anchor, simple, manageable, survivable. At lunch, Maya sat on the back steps with her sandwich and a book she had been pretending to read for weeks. Across the alley, a stray cat slept in a patch of sunlight. She watched its chest rise and fall and felt a strange envy. How effortless it looked to rest. Some days were harder than others. On the hard days, Maya's chest tightened for no clear reason. Her hands shook when she tried to fold paper. Her thoughts raced ahead, predicting disasters that never came but still left her exhausted. On those days, every day a little meant finishing one task, drinking a full glass of water, breathing slowly until the shaking passed. On better days, it meant smiling at a customer, adding an extra line to the journal she kept hidden in her drawer, walking home instead of taking the bus, just to feel the pavement under her feet. One evening, as autumn crept into the city, Maya noticed a new note taped to the door of her building. Community Writing Group, Thursdays at 7 p.m., no experience needed. She stared at it longer than necessary. Writing had once been her secret dream, folded away with childhood notebooks and half-finished stories. Life had taught her to be practical instead. That night, she lay awake arguing with herself. "You'll embarrass yourself. You'll freeze. You won't belong." But another voice, quieter, steadier, answered back. Every day, a little. The following Thursday, Maya stood outside the community center with her hands in her pockets. The door felt heavier than it should have. She almost turned away. Almost. Inside, the room smelled like old books and weak coffee. A handful of people sat in a loose circle, talking softly. No one stared, no one judged. "Hi," a woman with kind eyes said. "I must be new. I'm Lena." "I'm Maya," she replied, surprised that her voice didn't shake. They wrote for 10 minutes. Just 10. When time was up, Maya looked down at her page and felt something unfamiliar bloom in her chest. Not pride exactly, but relief. She had done it. She had shown up. Weeks passed. The days stacked themselves into something resembling routine. Maya kept waking at 6:10, kept walking 8 minutes to the bus stop, kept printing names and dates and promises. But slowly, quietly, things shifted. She started sleeping better. She laughed more easily. She began to believe, just a little, that progress didn't have to be loud to be real. One afternoon, Sam watched her pen a fresh flyer to the board. "You seem different lately," he said. "Different how?" "Happier," he said, then added quickly, "or lighter." Maya considered that. "Maybe I am," she said. "A little." On the anniversary of her mother's death, Maya took the day off work. She visited the small park they used to walk through together. The bench under the jacaranda tree was still there. She sat, closed her eyes, and let the memory come. "I'm trying," she whispered, unsure who she was speaking to. "Every day." The wind stirred the leaves in response. That night, she wrote until her hand ached. About grief, about fear, about mornings that felt like mountains and evenings that felt like mercy. She didn't edit, she didn't judge, she just wrote. When she finally stopped, the clock read 12:03 a.m., technically a new day. Maya smiled to herself, because tomorrow, she knew, she would wake again at 6:10. She would move forward, not perfectly, not quickly, but steadily. Every day, a little. Maya woke at 6:10 a.m. the next morning with the same soft chime, but something felt different. The weight was still there, quiet, familiar, but it no longer pinned her to the mattress. She sat up, pressed her feet to the floor, and breathed in. Every day, a little. She made tea instead of coffee. It felt like a small kindness. Steam fogged the window as dawn stretched pale fingers across the buildings. For the first time in a long while, she opened her journal before leaving the apartment and wrote one sentence: "I showed up." At work, the printing shop hummed with its usual rhythm. Machines whirred, paper slid and stacked, ink pressed words into permanence. Maya liked the idea that something she touched would be held by someone else. A wedding invitation tucked into a drawer, a business card slipped into a wallet. Proof that moments mattered. Around noon, Lena stopped by. Maya almost didn't recognize her outside the writing group. Lena wore a bright scarf and carried herself with the confidence of someone who belonged anywhere she stood. "I hope this isn't weird," Lena said, smiling. "You mentioned where you worked." "It's not weird," Maya replied, surprised and pleased. "What brings you here?" "I needed flyers printed," Lena said, "for the group. We're thinking of opening it up. More voices." Maya took the file and loaded the paper. As the printer warmed, Lena leaned against the counter. "You've been quiet lately," she said gently. "Your writing last week was honest. That's not easy." Maya shrugged, heat rising to her cheeks. "I don't think it's very good." Lena tilted her head. "Good isn't the point. True is." The word lingered after Lena left, humming in Maya's chest like a struck string. That evening at the writing group, something unexpected happened. Lena asked if anyone wanted to read aloud. Silence filled the room, thick, nervous. Maya's heart pounded. Her pages felt heavy in her hands. Before she could overthink it, her hand lifted. "I can," she said. The words trembled as they left her mouth, but they didn't fall apart. She read about mornings that felt like mountains, about grief that moved like weather, about the promise hidden in small steps. She didn't look up until the end. No one clapped. They didn't need to. The quiet was warm, respectful. "Thank you," Lena said softly. Walking home that night, the city felt different. Not gentler exactly, but less hostile, as if it had made room for her. Weeks turned into months. Autumn deepened. Leaves gathered in corners like forgotten letters. Maya kept writing. Some days it was easy. Other days it felt like pulling thread through stone. On the hardest days, she wrote one sentence and stopped. Every day, a little. Then came the email. "We'd love to feature your piece in our local literary newsletter." Maya read it 3 times, convinced it was a mistake. Her hands shook as she replied. That night, she didn't sleep. Doubt rushed in where pride should have been. What if they regret it? What if people read it and see too much? At work the next morning, Sam noticed her distraction. "You okay?" he asked. "I think I did something brave," Maya said, "and now I'm scared." Sam grinned. "That's how you know it counts." The newsletter came out on a rainy Tuesday. Maya didn't tell anyone, not at first. She read her own words on the screen and felt a strange tenderness, as if she were meeting a younger version of herself and choosing not to turn away. Messages arrived slowly. A stranger thanking her for putting into words what they couldn't. A former classmate she hadn't spoken to in years. Lena simply saying, "See?" The day after publication, Maya found a handwritten note slipped under her apartment door. "I don't know you, but your writing helped me today. Thank you." She sat on the floor and cried, not from sadness, but from the relief of being understood. Not everything changed. Some mornings were still heavy. Anxiety still crept in without permission. There were days she doubted herself, days she wanted to hide. But now she had proof. Proof that small things mattered. Proof that showing up counted. Proof that healing didn't arrive all at once, it accumulated. On the first cold morning of winter, Maya stood again at her window, blue mug warming her hands. The city moved below her, imperfect and alive. She opened her journal and wrote, "I am not finished. I am becoming." She smiled. Tomorrow she would wake at 6:10. She would keep going, not because she was fearless, not because she was fixed, but because she had learned something true. Every day, a little. Winter arrived without asking permission. The mornings grew darker, the air sharper. Maya's alarm still rang at 6:10, but now the sky outside her window was ink black, the city wrapped in a half-sleep that felt heavier than before. Some days, the old fear crept back in, that familiar whisper telling her she was moving too slowly, that progress could vanish as easily as it appeared. She learned something new then. Healing wasn't a straight line. It curved, it doubled back, and sometimes it paused. At the printing shop, business slowed. Fewer weddings in winter, fewer celebrations. The quiet stretched. One afternoon, the owner called Maya and Sam into the small back office. "I won't sugarcoat it," he said, rubbing his temples. "I need to cut hours. Maybe more if things don't improve." The words landed softly but carried weight. Maya walked home in the cold, her breath visible, her thoughts racing. Rent, groceries, the fragile sense of stability she had built piece by piece. That night, she didn't write. She stared at the blank page and felt the old frustration rise, sharp, accusing. You were foolish to hope. She closed the journal. The next day at the writing group, Maya almost didn't speak. She listened as others read, poems about love, stories about loss. When it was her turn, she shook her head. Lena noticed. After the meeting, she touched Maya's arm. "You don't have to be strong here," she said. "I know. I'm just tired." Lena nodded. "Then rest. That counts too." Rest. The word felt foreign. For years, rest had felt like failure. That evening, Maya cooked a proper meal for the first time in weeks. She washed dishes slowly. She went to bed early. The world didn't end. Days passed. Her hours at work were cut, but not gone. The fear lingered, but it no longer ruled her. On quiet afternoons, she wrote again, not for publication, not for praise, but for survival. She began writing about her mother in pieces instead of one heavy memory. Her laugh, her hands, the way she believed in small steps when nothing else made sense. One afternoon, Lena called. "I might have something," she said. "It's not big, but it's something." It was a paid opportunity, writing short reflections for a community mental health page. The pay was modest, the audience small. Maya said yes without thinking. Later, she realized why. Every day, a little. The first piece went live on a Monday morning. By evening, it had been shared dozens of times. Comments appeared. Quiet gratitude, recognition, connection. Maya felt something settle inside her. Not certainty, but trust. She adjusted her life gently. Fewer shifts at the shop, more writing, less pressure to be exceptional, more permission to be real. On a cold evening in late January, she returned to the park with the jacaranda tree. The branches were bare now, the bench cold beneath her coat. She brought her journal and read aloud softly, as if her mother were sitting beside her. "I'm still afraid sometimes," she said, "but I don't stop anymore." The wind moved through the branches. The city breathed. As winter began to loosen its grip, Maya noticed buds forming where she thought nothing could grow. The days lengthened, the mornings softened. One night, she taped a new note above her desk. Not a goal, not a promise. A reminder. Small is not weak. Slow is not failure. She smiled, closed her journal, and turned off the light. Tomorrow would come, as it always did, with uncertainty, with possibility, and Maya would meet it the same way she always had, every day, a little. Spring arrived quietly, the way healing often did. Maya noticed it first in the mornings. The sky lightened earlier now, pale blue instead of gray. When her alarm rang at 6:10, birds had begun arguing on the power lines outside her window, their small voices sharp with life. She smiled before she realized she was smiling. The phrase on the wall above her desk had faded slightly at the edges, but its meaning felt stronger than ever. Small is not weak. Slow is not failure. The printing shop never fully recovered, but it didn't collapse either. Maya still worked there 3 days a week. On the other days, she wrote. Not always beautifully, not always confidently, but honestly. The community mental health page became a steady presence in her life, one short piece at a time, one quiet truth offered to strangers who needed it. One afternoon, an email arrived from a reader. "I read your words every morning before work. They help me breathe." Maya leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. She didn't cry this time. She let the feelings stay, warm, solid, real. The writing group grew. New faces filled the circle on Thursdays, nervous and hopeful. Maya found herself welcoming them, recognizing the tight smiles, the hands clutching notebooks too hard. "You don't have to be perfect," she told them, hearing her mother's voice echo through her own. "You just have to start." Sometimes she read aloud, sometimes she didn't. Both were okay now. On a bright April morning, Maya returned to the park once more. The jacaranda tree had begun to bloom, soft purple flowers scattered like small miracles against the sky. She sat on the bench and let the sun warm her face. "I think I understand now," she whispered. "You weren't telling me to hurry." She imagined her mother's smiling, patient as ever. "You were teaching me how to stay." That evening, Maya walked home instead of taking the bus. The city felt alive around her, imperfect, loud, kind in unexpected ways. She passed the printing shop, lights glowing inside, and felt gratitude instead of fear. It had been a place to stand while she learned how to move. At home, she opened her journal to a clean page. "I used to think progress meant becoming someone else," she wrote. "Now I know it means becoming more myself." She set the pen down, turned off the lamp, and lay in bed listening to the night settle. Tomorrow would bring its own worries, its own work, its own small challenges. But she wasn't afraid of that anymore, because she had learned something simple, something true, something she would carry for the rest of her life. You don't heal all at once. You don't arrive in a single moment. You live, you try, you rest, you begin again. Every day, a little.